Welcome back into another Husky Talk. Today we have John Russell, 2017 All-American for the UConn baseball team. Russ, thanks for taking the time to join us. Just kind of take us through how you're doing, what you've been spending your time with here the last few weeks since you've gotten home.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. I love watching these, so I'm glad that I get a chance to be a part of one here with you. But yeah, just trying to do my best to stay busy, keep the mind right. I've been doing a ton of yard work back at my house, some landscaping and stuff like that, helping my family out. Actually working on starting a small, startup company with a couple of buddies back home, and baseball oriented. I can't release too much information yet, but hopefully we'll be seeing it out there soon once we get it all ironed out. But yeah, keeping busy.
So obviously last year you got hurt midway through the season. So you've been rehabbing, making your way back with that. So take us through what you were working on in spring training rehab-wise, and what you're able to do at home now that you're back home in Glastonbury.
Yeah, so in spring training, I was at the tail end of my rehab process. I was finishing up I had a couple more 100% bullpens to throw, and then the next progression was to, face live hitters and get into some simulated games, which didn't end up happening because we got cut short there. But everything's going good. The rehab process went well. Knock on wood, but there was no backs or anything of that nature. And everything's feeling good, feeling back, just working on getting that strength back that I had before, and that sharpness back. But things like that are going to take time.
So kind of take me through those hours, those days of when you guys found out the spring training was suspended and ultimately canceled, and then they send you guys back home. What was that experience like for you and amongst the Giants?
Yeah, it was. It's funky because no one's ever really experienced anything like this before. It's pretty new to everyone. But flip side there, everybody's kind of in the same boat. When we first got the news, I was living with Pat Rotolo at the time. And we weren't sure, is this going to be a couple week thing? Is this going to be 4 or 5 months? So, for the time being, we had decided to stay in Arizona. We had our apartment all paid for. We had a great spot. The weather was beautiful. We decided to stick around there. And then, we stayed around for a couple weeks and just decided that it was time to come back home. And if anything, were to happen with our families, it would be better if we were closer to home and back. So at that point, we hopped on a flight and came back here, and it's kind of been that same limbo process ever since. There's not a lot of communication, and nobody really knows what's going to happen, and but everybody's dealing with it. So
let's go all the way back. Let's go to the recruiting process. What was that like for you ultimately in making your decision and playing college ball?
Yeah, so my recruiting process is probably a lot different than anybody you ever talk to on here. There was no recruiting process, so my decision was pretty easy. I didn't start pitching until my senior year in high school, and at that point, it's pretty late. Most colleges have all their recruiting commits already. Everybody's signed, everybody knows where they're going. I wasn't even planning on playing baseball in college. I was actually going to go to school out in Colorado. I had some cousins who played sports at University of Colorado, and I loved it there, and I was out there and just be a student. And then my senior year in high school, both my parents lost their jobs, which at the time, you're thinking, this sucks. You never want to see parents go through something like that. And, the best decision for me financially was to go to UConn. The great school, uh, it was close to home and it was very affordable. So I just chose to go to UConn as a student. And baseball wasn't even like on my radar yet. And then obviously I had a great senior year in high school season, and I got a call from Coach Horgan first, and then Coach Penders asking me, hey, we see you had a great season. I see you're already UConn. Would you like to try out for the team? Maybe have a spot on the fall roster. And I couldn't think of a reason why I wouldn't want to do that. So I said, sure, why the heck not? Let's do it. But yeah, I really didn't get recruited by any other schools. I'd gotten some calls from a couple smaller schools, like Eastern called me, Keene State called me, but I wanted to study engineering, and neither of those schools even offered that program. So the coaches told me, like, yeah, I can't really recruit you if we don't have your major.
Yep.
But yeah, it was funny. I mean, there was no recruiting process. Even a D3 school, a local school that I had my major and I wanted to go play at, I was able to get in contact with the coach, and he told, like, sorry, we can't take you. It's too late. So it's funny how that worked out.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons that, like, I wanted to obviously catch up with you and whatnot, but just for younger kids to be able to watch your story, and we'll go more into it, of just your perseverance, you kind of finding yourself along the way. I think it's just remarkable to kind of pass that along to the next generation, to kind of say, hey, you don't have to be highly recruited to become an All-American in Division I baseball and then go play in the San Francisco Giants organization. So as you get to UConn, and obviously you don't have a solidified spot on that roster, and ultimately don't end up pitching at UConn Stores, but UConn Avery Point, what was that freshman year kind of like for you amongst those guys and competing against them in fall ball?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, showing up my freshman year, I knew that they were a big time program. I knew that they had been, like, ranked top 25 in the years past. And at the time, I was a straight bean. I was, all of 155 pounds, soaking wet. And I remember watching CJ and him talk about, like, freshman, sophomore year, those teams full of, like, grown men, and I was a boy. And that just showing up and, like, going to the first meeting, seeing, oh, these guys have, like, full beards and they're, like, big dudes, I was scared. But then once competition started and I was able to get on the bump at JOC and get people out. I wasn't thrown incredibly hard my freshman year, but I was still able to compete. It was nothing, like, I wasn't dominating, but I was able to compete. And I think a week or two in, I realized that, that these guys aren't that much better than me, and that I can compete here, and I think I can make this team, and I think that I can get some innings.
What did you learn most while you were at UConn Avery Point before you came back to Stores that next year?
Yeah, so that was a really tough decision that I made halfway through the year. Coach Penders gave me the option, and Coach Bidwell, I owe the world to him down at Avery Point. He took me on and let me transfer down there and play for them halfway through the year for the spring semester. And man, that was the best decision I ever made in my life. I learned so much down there from Coach Bidwell and Coach Clark, the pitching coach. Had a great season. Just had an awesome team. Had an awesome group of guys. We made it all the way to the Junior College World Series. Finished third in the country, and those were great memories. And the best thing was that I got to play and I got to develop. And I ironed some things out in my mechanics. but just being on the mound and playing in game in a competitive atmosphere rather than, taking a redshirt year and staying back in stores while teams on the road was just did numbers for my development in that process.
So next year, your sophomore year was huge for you, not only in terms of pitching a few games with the Huskies, but also going down to the Coastal Plains League, I believe, and really throwing the ball well there. What were you able to learn? Because I remember some discussions talking with you when you were with the Huskies, and you didn't get the appearances you wanted, but you seemed like you had that confidence of, man, they should be throwing me more. And J-Mac even says now, hey, one of my biggest regrets is we didn't have Russ for that 2016 run.
Yeah, so my sophomore year was at UConn was tough. I learned a lot about myself. I think that year it was really the first time that I had ever been on a team and not had a big contributing role. So it was humbling in that sense. I felt that I was good enough to pitch at the time, but the bottom line was that roster was deep. Man, we had a ton of arms if you go back and look, and I don't know if it was anyone's fault in particular that I didn't pitch more, and I know that Coach Mack says that he wishes he threw me more, but there was also things that I had to get at. I wasn't the same pitcher my sophomore year as I was my junior year, but I had the confidence still, and that summer down in North Carolina was big time for my confidence as well. I went down there and it was a good league. It was my first time, away from home, and I had an awesome time. And it was a similar situation. It was a great group of guys. I got put into a circumstance where I had the opportunity to be successful, and I made the most of that opportunity. And but I mean, even the summer before that, I feel like everybody talks about the Coastal Plains summer and how it's my big jump, but statistically, if you look at the summer before that, when I played in the Futures League, that was the best season I've ever pitched in my life. Like and it's funny because no one talks about that, but like to this day, that summer I struck out like 50 guys and walked 2 batters, and that's just I don't even know like how that happened, but it's like at the end of the year, like you pull up the stats and you're like, that's how that went down.
Video game numbers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I always liked the summer ball atmosphere. It reminds me a lot of how pro ball operates. A little more laid back. You're playing more games. It's only baseball. You're not dealing with classes in school. There's way less distractions. But yeah, that was 2 summers and coming back in the fall and in 2016 back to school were a big step for me.
So take me into the mindset as we head into the 2017 season. And obviously, you're one of the guys projected to be at that back end of the bullpen. Was it stuff-wise? Was it confidence-wise? Because I don't know if it was the first weekend, but second weekend at Texas, it was like, wow, this guy's got some real guts when you closed out Will's start, that second game against the Longhorns.
Yeah, that, my dad always talks about that game, and he says that was a game that, really catapulted my season and gave me confidence. And it's true, it did, for me to be able to pitch in that atmosphere, against a program with such a deep and rich history in college baseball and be able to get it done in front of those fans, it worked wonders for my confidence, because I knew that if I could get those guys out, then I could get out pretty much anybody in the country. So that was a huge outing for me. And, even before that, coming into the season, I think it was a confidence thing. Not that I was confident before, but I think in 16, on the mound, I was out there and I was confident in my stuff, but I was more pitching not to make a mistake. And, PJ did an interview a couple of years ago, and he talked about how he went from throwing a pitch and saying, please do this, to, changing his mindset into you're not going to hit that. And I think that I made that the flick of the switch there with that mindset, and that was it. From there it was a snowball effect.
Look, I don't know if there's an answer to this question, but what is it about the UConn program, guys like yourself, PJ, Wallace, CJ, guys that earlier in their career as they're starting to figure it out and then all of a sudden click, they're big-time guys that are becoming All-Americans and getting huge outs at ends of games. What is it about the program that allows you guys to be able to kind of develop and then all of a sudden – Rotolo and guys in front of you graduate and it's boom, now it's our time?
Yeah, it's fun, almost like that next guy up mentality. The actual talent level, I think, is always there. I don't think that it's a guy coming in, PJ as a freshman, versus PJ as a sophomore, junior. I don't think that there's a huge jump in like his stuff talent. I think that having that person in front of you to kind of pave the way and show you the way, for me it was Rotolo, and I watched Rotolo and how he went in there and was just fearless. He was a bulldog and he just locked down games. And once Pat went in, the entire bullpen ran into the dugout and was, let's go Pat, and I saw that, and now Pat's gone. Hey, that's got to be my role now. That's my job. I want that job. And then when I'm gone, then PJ steps up, and it's just having the ability. And then Wallace learns from PJ. Just to be able to see it and to be able to see someone have that success, and once they're gone, you want that role and you want that success. And I think that having someone in front of you to kind of show you the way makes it way easy.
All right, I had you put a list together of some of the top games that you either pitched in or you were watching from the dugout. What did you end up coming up with? I know I have a couple off the top of my head that I put together as well.
Yeah, so the first one, I don't know if statistically you probably don't think this is a top game for me, but my first career outing down at Liberty in 2016, it was kind of a funny situation because the first weekend I traveled and got sick. There was 4 of us who were, had a pretty bad flu going on. We were all stuck in one hotel room eating saltines and chicken noodle soup. So I didn't even get to pitch that weekend. And then the second weekend I didn't travel. And then the third weekend we were playing down at Liberty, and the Friday game, K struggled a little bit, and next thing I knew, I was the first guy out of the bullpen on the weekend, and I just kind of got thrown in the fire. And I don't know statistically, it wasn't a bad outing, it wasn't a great outing, but it was a really cool outing for me, just to kind of assess how far I'd come, everything I'd put into making the team, and to actually get out there with UConn on my chest and face a different opponent was really special to me. So that one comes to mind. We talked about the second weekend versus Texas. Wills is out there throwing absolute pebbles and striking out the world, and I came in the 7th inning there and was able to get the save. Now it's a big time outing for me too. Another one, the conference tournament game against Memphis. It was an elimination game, and I hadn't even thrown yet in the conference tournament. I think it was like our first game, because nothing had been really close, and we were losing. We were about to get eliminated, and it was like the 6th inning. And at that point, I was a little bit frustrated, and I think I phoned on to the dugout and said, I'm going to the game. I don't care what inning it is. I'm going to the game. So, I came in the 6th, and I had my longest appearance of my career. And, we came back, and Winkle had a big hit, I think it was. And, he came back and won that game. And at the time, we thought that was a game that was, if we won that, we were going to be getting into the NCAA tournament. And, we didn't end up making it, which was unfortunate. But I think I got two more. I got home versus Cincinnati. I came in Friday in the ninth inning. Yeah. I came into a game Friday in the ninth inning. We were up 4. I came in with the bases loaded and gave up a grand slam. And we ended up losing the game. And then, it was a similar situation where on Saturday, it was the same situation, actually. Bases were loaded. It was the 8th inning. There was no outs. And the exact same hitter who hit the grand slam off me was up the day before. And, nobody even told me to warm up. I just started throwing. I just got hot. And I remember, I don't know if it was Holmes or CJ or someone was like, "Hey, Coach Pender's is going out to the mound." And they're like, "Are you in?" I was like, I'm running in. So we just opened the gate and I ran in. And, ended up, I got a double play and then I think a strikeout and got out of it and then finished the game. And that was a really, really cool outing. But I think my number one, my top UConn baseball memory was at East Carolina. But the Friday game I pitched, I don't even know if it was just a 1-inning save, but I threw a ton of pitches. I threw like 40 pitches or something. And I was supposed to be down on Saturday, and the game had gone into extra innings. And, I went to Coach Penders in the dugout and said, if we take the lead, like, give me the ball. And he did. And, we got out of it. And we ended up sweeping the weekend. At the time, they were a ranked opponent. They were, I don't know, a top 12, 15 team. And I think you're on mute, Jonesy. I can't hear you.
I think they're sorry, the dog was barking. I think they're like 11th or 12th in the country.
Yeah, something like that. And we swept the weekend, and it was just fun. I remember being on the bus after the game, and Coach, we had music blasting. And
Coach was singing Sinatra.
Yeah, and Coach Penn stands up, and we're all, "Oh, guys, gonna yell at us for playing music." And he's like, "Can you guys sing Sinatra on that thing?" And we're like, "Yeah, we can." And he karaoke'd a little Sinatra on the bus. I'll never forget that. That was fun. That was a great memory there, and that was a good weekend.
So take me through after the season's over, obviously, and Wills and I just talked about it a couple days ago, but just the disappointment of not going to the NCAA tournament, and a team that I thought had College World Series potential with bullpen, starting rotation, lineup. What was it like entering the draft, and kind of what the reaction was when you were drafted by the Giants?
You gotta get that up under control.
I know. He's upset that Dad's talking to people.
Yeah, that's fine. He's cute. I've seen him before. Yeah, that was tough, man. I still think we got the short end of the stick there. Guy-wise, I want to say we were like 35th in the country or something like that. We had one of the top strength of schedules in the country. We were playing well. We were playing really well at the end of the season too. I think we tied for like first in the conference with it or something like that. Or I think we lost the conference.
That last regular
season. The last game of the year. So, we thought that we were in. And, I think that not only for me, but making that conference or making that NCAA tournament would have been huge for guys like Wills and Willie and like not borderline, but just draft eligible guys to obviously you want to make the NCAA tournament because you want to win it all.
Yeah.
But being able to pitch on that, national level and televised level, and it's just the exposure is unreal. It's on ESPN, it's on all that things, and that would have been awesome. That would have been a really great experience to be able to do that. And I thought we deserved that. That really sucked having our season end in a conference room. I mean, we had a watch party to watch the bracket reveal, and you don't have a watch party unless you think you're going to tournament. So yeah, that one sucks. That one still makes me a little mad to think about. So thanks for bringing Jonesy.
Did it help though that the draft was kind of right around the corner? You had something to kind of look ahead to, kind of take your mind off things and worry about where you're going to get picked.
Yeah, it did, but at the same time, the draft is almost, I feel like, an easier process if you're playing in a regional and you don't even have to think about it. It just happens. And you hear about the guys who they're playing a game and they come to the dugout and someone says, "Hey man, you just got drafted. It's San Francisco Giants just picked you." And you're in the moment, you're like, "Oh, okay, that's cool, but I got a game to win." And I much rather would have had that than have 2 weeks to think about the draft. I much rather would have been preparing for an NCAA tournament game than driving to Staten Island to do a workout, a pre-draft workout. And that's nothing against the pre-draft workouts, but I just wanted to play, man.
So what was draft day like for you? Where were you? Who were you with? And then ultimately getting the call that you're drafted by the Giants.
Yeah, cool. I was home. I was with my mom, my dad on our back deck, and it was just us. And it's an anxious process. I knew I wasn't going day one. There was the rain out. There's kind of a guesstimate. The range that I was given was that 6 to 12 rounds. So I thought possibly at the end of day 2, but that didn't happen. And then, you're watching on day 3 and 5 rounds go by and it's kind of like, oh, is this going to happen? Or you're starting to think like, I might be back from my fear. Then when your name gets called, all that kind of anxiety and everything goes away, and kind of just it's a cool moment. It's something that as a kid you work towards your whole life, and to think about where I started to being a freshman at 150 pounds, showing up to a meeting at with these grown men that I was scared of, to hearing my name called in the draft was a cool moment for me and my family and everybody that had been a part of it.
All right, I'll give you a tough question here. Out of the guys you pitched with at UConn, what were some of the pitches or the guys you'd look at and be like, man, I wish I had that pitch?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, watching Kay throw, I wish I could be a lefty with Kay's pickoff move. I know it's not a pitch, but man, it was just fun to watch because you knew it was going to happen. Like you knew like a kid got on you. He's going to just get off, and then he would just do his little slide step move and get him. His changeup too was pretty unhittable college. Obviously, Tim ball comes to mind. I just remember Tim had like the most confidence in his stuff. Like it was almost like too confident, but he would say like these ridiculous things. Like he would watch obviously Case on Friday, and then I'd be sitting with him in the dugout, and he would just be like, "These kids are good. I'm gonna strike out 12 guys tomorrow." And then he would go out there and strike out 12 guys, and it was that curveball. Like I've never seen a lefty be able to buckle righties with a curveball. Mm-hmm. But his had that, and I mean, I had to play with Jake a little bit, but when I was playing, I wasn't throwing as hard as he was his junior. But you watching him progress through the NCAA tournament there, and watching him throw and just blow up the radar gun and just, strike out however many guys in a row it was with the Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That was special. And that was something where it was like, man, I wish I could blow a fastball. Because like I got my fair share of guys, but it was always on curveball. And then you got to deal with people saying, throw fastballs. But Jake could just blow a fastball by anybody. So I kind of always wish I had that. And the same thing with Pat Rotola's fastball. Even Pat will joke about it. Like in college, there was games where he was like throwing 88 to 91, like belt high, and people were just swinging and missing at everything. And you're like, how is what's happening? Because at the time, like we kind of knew what spin rate was, but there wasn't all this technology there is now, with all the spin rate numbers and all that stuff and ride and now we have the answer. That's why. But at the time, you're just like, dude, he's throwing visiballs.
1 second. Let's see if he barks here. Take me through the impact of Coach Penders and Coach Mack on you. What were some of the lessons you learned from those guys? And even you could throw Coach Horgan and Coach Des, though you don't work with them as much as a pitcher.
Yeah. I mean, Coach Penders is just an unbelievable role model, I think, for all of his players. He's like a second father away from home, for a lot of guys. I think that I have the most respect for him just because of the values and lessons that he preaches. I think it's bigger than baseball. I think that's why you have this kind of cool family atmosphere where you got some colleges where they get draft picks, but very little guys go back and give back to their college. But at UConn, it's almost like a family that they've created there, and it's a testament to him, a testament to Coach Mack, it's a testament to all the coaches, and it's partially because they've all been there so long. It's difficult as a player to go back to a program if your coach that you played for isn't still the coach. So I think having that structure, and I think Coach Mack, I think he taught me a lot about the mental side, and just to kind of have that edge and that fire, and that's what ultimately helped me make that jump. But I mean, I think that the job that Coach Penders has done in just turning into, men is kind of a testament to who he is as a coach and who he is as a person. And, he's got all his sayings, which when you're a player, you're hearing all these things, like he talks about being a duck in a rainstorm, and the hay is in the barn, and I believe you put in the work to deserve success in the moment. And you're kind of, this again, but as you grow up and as you mature, you realize that they do ring true, and I think that they're all metaphors, but they're all also life lessons, not just in baseball, but in your future endeavors.
How are you different as a pitcher now than when you left the Huskies? Whether it's stuff-wise, whether it's things you've learned since being in pro ball?
I throw more fastballs now. You realize I can't go through a whole season, 5-6 month season throwing that many. But no, I think the biggest change I made was learning how to pitch inside with a fastball, understanding how to get people out, understanding that it's not necessarily about striking everybody out, trying to induce weak contact early in counts, keep pitch counts low, and more just, I think in college I didn't understand how important the stuff off the field was in terms of strength and conditioning, in terms of nutrition, in terms of arm care. all these little things, and especially after going through the rehab process after Tommy John, like you learn a lot about your body, biomechanically and things of that nature, and just learning how important it is to really stay on top of that stuff if you want to stay healthy for a 5-6 month long season where you're playing every day.
Have you locked down that degree yet?
Still working on it, Jonesy.
How much left?
Yeah, so I am, as of right now, the plan is I got everything approved. I was supposed to take 2 classes. I have like a construction class and my senior project. I was going to take them at Arizona State and then transfer them back to in the fall of this year. I don't know what's going to happen with the minor league season. I don't know if those classes are going to be online or in person, but hopefully we can still get those done, and that'll be it for the civil engineering degree, and that'll be a big weight off my back to be able to finish that. We're still playing.
You've been out in Arizona, and obviously everything's up in the air right now. Is it plausible to play a summer out there, minor leagues wise, if you guys are stuck out there at your spring training home and playing games in the middle of that Arizona heat?
Yeah, I mean, they play the rookie ball league out there in the heat all summer. It's not going to be fun. In terms of that, like the heat, I think that it's fine. You could play through that, but I just don't know if having the whole organization there in terms of safety with this virus, and I don't think being able to quarantine a whole organization is possible. You have 150 players, not to mention another 50 to 75 staff. That's 200 plus people that you got coming in and out of the facility, and you don't know what they're doing after they leave. You don't know who they're in contact with. But it's whatever the experts deem is the safest possible route in terms of that. I wouldn't be surprised if the minor leagues just don't have a season, which would really suck. I think it might be possible to get it done at the big league level just because the numbers are lower, but then you run into other problems like guys are going to get hurt, guys aren't going to perform well, they're going to want to bring up guys from the minors, and if there is no minors, then what do you do? So it's just kind of a funky situation, like I said before, that nobody's ever had to deal with. So I guess you gotta get creative.
All right, I'll get you out on this one. What are you going to remember most from your time at UConn?
Yeah, man, that's tough. There's a lot of great memories there. I think just kind of the family atmosphere. UConn is very special to me, not only because I went there and I played there, but I was born a Husky, man. Like I grew up in Connecticut. We didn't have any professional teams. And growing up as a kid, I was that 8-10-year-old kid with the huge poster of Ben Gordon and Mecca Okafor on my wall. I grew up bleeding Husky basketball, and to be able to go there and be a part of that and wear that UConn across my chest and represent the state and everything that the university stands for was special as a whole. So I think that's what I get to take away from it.
Well, Russ, we really appreciate the time. Hopefully you're binge watching something, playing video games. I don't know. It's been it's been a tough 4 or 5 weeks to stay with it. But hey, we're happy you're healthy. Enjoy your family, and we'll be in touch, all right, man?
Thanks, Jonesy. Thanks for having me.